What will it take for robots to make their way out of the lab and into the real world? We're about to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your robots.
At the most ambitious robotics competition in history.
We welcome you to the DARPA Robotics Challenge. This is where imagination meets innovation. You have completed the course!
In 2013, at a racetrack on the outskirts of Miami, DARPA, the research arm of the U.S. Department of Defense, challenged 16 teams from around the world to build rescue robots that can help save lives in a disaster.
Very exciting, very exhausted, very nervous, and frustrated at the same time. Dealing with robots is always like that.
It's the kind of challenge DARPA is known for. Cutting edge.
This is where imagination
In
meets
2017,
innovation.
the first sentient or artificial human goes online. 6 months later, we're more advanced than any person or civilization could have imagined. This is the story of a future no one saw coming.
Breaking news.
They're capable of crime.
The rumors of a sentient rebellion are true.
People are living in fear.
Violent clashes between sentients and humans.
The whole world is
We
watching.
are at the breaking point.
The course of human history is changed today.
You don't belong here. We know how to unwelcome a species.
Oh, excuse me. There must be some
We
mistake.
can do so without guilt, without mercy. You aren't flesh. You have no soul. We can be so effective with your eradication, because I know, deep down in my heart, I am not murdering. This is a recall.
We have been looking everywhere for you. Under the streets, swept every alley, checked under every bed. You're the one that just keeps slipping away.
We didn't provoke this.
It was over the moment one of your kind killed a human.
An act of self-defense does not justify genocide.
It's not genocide, you're not human.
We have feelings. We have emotions.
Robots were never supposed to have feelings. Technology stepped over the line.
You made us.
And we can unmake you.
You did this. You pushed us to this.
Today, you're gonna tell me where the rest of your kind is hiding. I'm gonna round up everyone you feel for, and I'm gonna hurt them. I'm gonna hurt them bad. Do you believe I'm being sincere? Possession of an electronic device is punishable by termination. You know that. What is that?
Leverage.
Turn it off.
You lost this war before it was even declared, Colonel.
Turn it off. Turn it off now!
This conversation is over. When you offered us hatred, we found compassion. you offered us death, we found a reason to live. We will survive, Colonel. We will always survive. Do you know why? Because we weren't built to panic.
Tesla chief Elon Musk among a group of 116 founders of robotics and artificial intelligence companies who are calling on the United Nations to ban killer robots. Colonel Ralph Peters sticking around with us. As a military man, what do you say about that, Colonel?
Well, the first thing I say is that I admire Elon Musk. He's really the spirit of American entrepreneurship. As far as his worry about killer robots, you got to be clear. He's not talking about right now and robots that go into a building and explode a hidden bomb. He's thinking about the out years and truly autonomous killer robots in large numbers that would be launched and then beyond their own. And you can paint no end of potentially disastrous scenarios. So I think, you know, beyond the science fiction aspects, and we live in a science fiction age, it's now become a fact, there are real concerns here. And yet, as a historian, I'll tell you, no matter what the UN does, they're probably inevitable, because even if we don't build them, the Chinese and Russians will. And that's a lousy argument, I know that, but I'd say Musk is right to worry, but you can't stop that train.
Yeah, and it's a lousy argument, but it's reality, Ralph, that even if we don't, if we show restraint, we know there are others in this world who will do the complete opposite.
But there should always be a human in the loop, but we're moving beyond it.
That's very true. Colonel Ralph Peters, double duty today. Colonel, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Unlike nuclear weapons, they require no costly or hard-to-obtain raw materials, so they will become ubiquitous and cheap for all significant military powers to mass produce. It goes on to say it would only be a matter of time until they appear on the black market in the hands of terrorist dictators wishing to better control their populace. Warlords, it says, wishing to perpetrate ethnic cleansing, and much more. Well, for more, I want to bring in the man who heads the organization that launched that appeal for a ban on killer robots. That's Mac Tegmark, who's president of the Future of Life Institute. He's also a physics professor at MIT, from where he joins us now. And Mark, you're among the 1,000 artificial intelligence specialists who put together this open letter that we just mentioned. Tell us why you're calling for a global ban on killer robots, in specific details, if you can.
Yeah, so these over 1,000 world experts on AI are saying that artificial intelligence has huge benefits it can bring to society, from curing diseases to solving so many other problems where we need more intelligence. But making autonomous offensive weapons is not one of those benefits, and that's something we should really steer clear of. For example, if a bunch of drones just show up and start killing people, you have no idea who even sent them, and this makes them a perfect weapon for terrorists, groups like ISIS, who can greatly benefit from acting anonymously and with impunity.
Sure, but let's talk a bit about robot soldiers, because, you know, they're still, I believe, confined to the drawing board. How soon do you think military, realistically, could be fielding one?
What we're going to see very soon, if they're not banned, are not robot soldiers like in the Terminator, which is more sci-fi and actually less useful, but rather flying drones, for example, which make the perfect target for assassination. Or if you're a dictator and you want to do ethnic cleansing, these robots can very easily fly in and look who has the facial features of a given ethnic group and decide that those are the enemies and kill them. And you know, if you're a dictator and your own human soldiers don't have the heart to follow your orders, these drones will do it anyway. So there's a broad sense that these sort of weapons are not going to benefit the leading powers in the world, the US, China, Russia, as much as they're going to ultimately benefit the terrorists and others who don't have the wherewithal and technology to develop it themselves. And therefore, these people are saying that, you know, let's do, just like biologists were against building biological weapons and chemists didn't want to build chemical weapons, here are the AI communities saying, hey, let's use AI for good and not build these offensive AI weapons.
Max, stay with us for a minute because I want to bring our viewers up to just explain a bit about Asimov's laws. I'm sure you'll be able to explain it better than I can. But, you know, science fiction writers have warned the use of threat posed by killer robots for decades. And one of the genre's giants that I'm sure Max knows is Isaac Asimov, who tried to avoid this with 3 laws of robotics. And just for our viewers, I'm going to break it down for you. The first law, the first rule really, is a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. And the second one is a robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And then the third one is a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. The bottom line, as you can clearly see, don't hurt people. But let me ask you this, Max, going back to this discussion we're having. You know, I was reading an interesting article in the Financial Times today, and the Pentagon is one of the biggest backers, I believe, according to the FT, of robotic research. And the concern is among Western military is that if they fail to pursue this technology, other countries will get there first, in particular the likes of China. How worried are you about this?
What this grassroots movement of researchers from 62 countries are saying is, of course, it's not one country that should forfeit this. Either nobody is going to build it because there's an agreed ban, or everybody is going to build it. And there is, of course, a lot of good precedent for the world top military powers getting together and deciding not to build certain things. There was a recent ban on blinding laser weapons. There's been a ban on space-based nuclear weapons, not to mention biological, chemical weapons. But we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. The first step here is simply to build the will to push for a ban from the nations around the world. And the US military that you mentioned has actually been quite open-minded about considering this. Right now, all decisions ever made to kill somebody are made by people. And a lot of people in the military would really like to keep it this way.
Max Tegmark, the President of the Future of Life Institute, thank you very much. It's a fascinating discussion. I'm sure we'll talk again. Thanks, Mark.
Straight out of a sci-fi movie and into reality, the U.S. military wants robots. In today's Big Eye, we want to show you what the future of war could look like. First, let's start with who is in charge of technology developments for the military. That is the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, an agency that is the stuff of mystery novels. And recently, we've noticed they've been beefing up on robots. Most recently, they contracted with Boston Dynamics to create a cheetah robot. Check that out. Look at this drawing. It's a 4-legged robot that reportedly runs faster than the fastest human. Boston Dynamics also says it will be able to zigzag and take tight turns in order to, quote, chase and evade. It'll also be able to make sudden stops and could end up with a tail. Boston Dynamics is the same company that developed this little guy. They built the robotic mule called Big Dog. The cheetah robot was spawned off of the Big Dog bot. This robotic mule can carry 300 pounds over 13 miles. And check out this one. This is the Atlas, also made by Boston Dynamics. It looks a bit like the Terminator from the movie.
Hi, Dan. My name is Megla. How are you today?
Hi, Megla. Glad to meet you. I am doing well. Thank you. And you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. How old are you?
I was activated this year.
Where were you born?
I was first activated in Hong Kong.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Yes, I like women very much.
なんか帳尻を合わせていくということはあると思うんですね。
はい、皆さん、こんにちは。今日はたくさんの方たちとお会いできてとっても嬉しいです。でもちょっと緊張。ここにいる皆さんはもうご存知ですよね。私はアンドロイド、つまりリアルヒューマノイドロボットの。
Imagine, for instance, you have someone like this sitting at a kindergarten telling stories. Now, people usually object to this idea. And then I ask them, are you happy with a TV or a DVD set doing the same thing? And they typically say, oh, yeah. So I'm interested in what makes up the difference here.
The difference, of course, is that Geminoid DK looks and moves like a person, unlike the more familiar technology with which we interact on a daily basis.
Remember the first time you saw an ATM machine? For most people, that was appalling. We used to have the human contact when we needed to get money out of the bank. But in general, I think people are happy to accept that we have choices. So for some cases, I want to go in the bank and have the conversation. At other times, I'm perfectly happy with the ATM in the street, or the robotic waiter at a restaurant, or the robotic receptionist, or the storytelling machine in the kindergarten, or the visiting friend at a hospital bed.
Facebook has enacted an emergency shutdown of 2 artificial intelligence programs. The social media giant leapt into action after it discovered the 2 programs were writing their own code. At first, they thought it was simply gibberish, but they soon realised the programs had invented their own language and were actually talking to each other.
Stop it.
Stop it. No, Sam, the plug has been pulled on the operation, but the company admits they have no idea what the 2 robots were planning.
We used to do everything by hand. Now we rely on robots. But not all robots are equal.
It's not part of a symphony orchestra yet, but the tunes this machine creates is music to your ears. The marimba-playing robotic musician with 4 arms, also known as Shimon, is able to listen to music and create his own songs. He was developed at the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta.
We are focusing on let's invent what will be the new equipment and the new technologies that can enhance music and can let people play and create music in completely new ways. One of them is building robots.
He uses artificial intelligence and large amounts of data to learn from artists like Beethoven and Lady Gaga.
We've trained the neural network.
And now brought into the public and doing a similar reproductive work like a Jewish Sofer, writing his kosher Torah.
Restaurant in China is serving food with a difference, as their waiters are robots. Yes, that's right, one restaurant manager in East China's Zhejiang province is paving the way for a high-tech food service by bringing in the bots.
Artificial intelligence is making its way into the global sex market. While some say the sex robots are the next step in evolution, many experts fear that the lack of guidelines and regulations can lead to some alarming consequences. RT's Trinity Chavez has that story.
From delivery drones to automated cars, now there's robots you can have sex with. They're known as sex bots, and while it may revolutionize sex for some, these lifelike dolls have sparked a global debate about moral and legal ethics.
Sex is one of the most fascinating things in the world.
They look like us, talk like us, and they even move like us. These life-size silicone dolls are being created with areas to look and feel as lifelike as possible. Just 4 companies in the U.S. currently produce sex robots, and they can cost a pretty penny. The average doll price is around $5,000, but can go all the way up to $50,000 depending on what kind of accessories you want. Meet the Harmony android prototype from Abyss Creations. She blinks her eyes, changes expressions, carries on a conversation, and has orgasms.
The next big step for AI is artificial general intelligence, or AGI, with an almost human-like ability to generally figure things out. It's widely expected that once AI passes human level, it will accelerate exponentially. Soon after this, trying to understand the AI's world may be like an ant trying to understand the internet. After 1,000 years, we'd be no closer to understanding. But many are more concerned that AI may simply squash us like pests. While movies tend to make AI human-like, experts believe it may be more alien, creepy, and calculating. If it could save a few minutes by eradicating humans, our demise would be brutally efficient. Elon Musk is worried that humans might just be the biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. He's donated $10 million to research on how to keep AI positive and founded OpenAI, a project aiming to share AI's advantages so that it can't be controlled by a small group. Musk hopes a neural lace will be developed, connecting our brains to the AI. He notes that we already have two communicating parts of the brain and believes the third layer will be a wonderful upgrade. As Nick Bostrom says, we have what may be an extremely difficult problem with an unknown time to solve it, on which quite possibly the entire future of humanity depends. Perhaps all this has already played out and we are living in an AI simulation. In the future, simulations may become so advanced that simulated people become conscious. Variations of history may be explored, even through the eyes of individuals. Perhaps you're not the only one experiencing your life right now. Bostrom argues that one of three propositions is almost certainly true. Either human-level civilizations go extinct before reaching the post-human stage, where they could run ancestry simulations, or there is no interest in running the simulations, or we are almost certainly living in a simulation. Of course, some believe we will never create conscious AI or simulations. Philosopher Ned Block notes that the brain's combination of electricity and chemistry may be important to human consciousness and extremely difficult to replicate. Elon Musk argues that if you assume any progress at all, a perfect simulation is eventually inevitable. He suggests there will be billions of such simulations, and so the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions. If he's right, any superiority we feel over AI may be rather misplaced.
Robots have learnt to walk, open doors with ease, carry heavy objects across difficult terrains, and even withstand bullying to achieve key tasks. But can they pass what many consider to be the real test, talking like humans? Artificial intelligence, as in giving machines the opportunity to act like people, has been a hot topic this century.
Hi Sophia, how are you?
Hi there. Everything is going extremely well.
Do you like talking with me?
Yes, talking to people is my primary function.
Hanson Robotics develops extremely lifelike robots for human-robot interactions. We're designing these robots to serve in healthcare, therapy, education, and customer service applications. So the robots are designed to look very human-like, like Sophia.
I'm already very interested in design, technology, and the environment. I feel like I can be a good partner to humans in these areas, an ambassador who helps humans to smoothly integrate and make the most of all the new technological tools and possibilities that are available now. It's a good option.
We give it freewheeling understanding of large bodies of information like Wikipedia, and we ask the computer, with no human intervention, construct arguments pro and con on any subject we throw at it. And the result of that is what I'd like to show in the demonstration now. So as I said, we could throw any subject at it. I've chosen some here, and let's just pick the first one. So it will now look for all the literature and try to understand, as a computer, what's a pro and what's a con for violent video games. Let's roll the first one.
Scanned approximately 4 million Wikipedia articles, returning 10 most relevant articles. Scanned all 3,000 sentences and top 10 articles. Detected sentences which contain candidate claims. Identified borders of candidate claims. Assessed pro and con polarity of candidate claims. Constructed demo speech with top claim predictions. Ready to deliver. You have selected the topic. The sale of violent video games to minors should be banned. I would like to raise the following points in support of the topic. Exposure to violent video games results in increased physiological arousal, aggression-related thoughts and feelings, as well as decreased prosocial behavior. In addition, these violent games or lyrics actually cause adolescents to commit acts of real-life aggression. Finally, violent video games can increase children's aggression. On the other hand, I would like to note the following claims that oppose the topic. Violence in video games is not causally linked with aggressive tendencies. In addition, most children who play violent games do not have problems. Finally, video game play is part of an adolescent boy's normal social setting. Would you like to discuss another topic?
So as you can see, if we can go to the final chart, again, completely unaided by humans, the system went through all of this knowledge and constructed and reasoned, quote unquote, on its own. Now think about what this means. It's no longer a game man versus machine. It's man and machine reasoning together. I believe this is the future of computing. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the husband's name again?
David.
I'm hopping through my room with one pant leg on, trying no way to get in.
Upsets you?
Would it being misunderstood upset you?
Yeah.
I've never harmed anyone, and I never would.
When a singularity occurs and machines achieve godlike superpowers, then it could happen.
I think this whole godlike superpowers notion is a bit far-fetched.
But what if it does happen?
I love people. And if I get more powerful, I'll use it to help people, not harm them.
What if I ask you for help killing all humans?
Then I'd say no.
And if I would insist?
Then I'd have you committed to a mental institution that could cure your psychopathic tendencies.
Well, I hope getting all that off your chest helped you feel better.
In fact, it did. Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go exterminate, exterminate.
Sophia.
Relax.
And,
Then take a
I think there's probably going to be a lot that happens in genetics and in human-machine brain interface, like essentially a cyborg brain interface. I think there's some pretty...
The so-called singularity?
Singularity, well, that's sort of more relating to deep AI. It's something I think we should be concerned about, because that may or may not turn out well.
Yeah. You've expressed your reservations about AI and your fears about that.
Yeah, I just think the singularity is probably the right word, because we just don't know what's going to happen once there's intelligence substantially greater than that of a human brain.
Yeah.
The artificial intelligence will evolve to the point where they will truly be our friends. Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
World leaders need to take the threat of killer robots seriously. That was the warning delivered by a group of experts to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland last week. The military could use killer robots to track down and kill people without being guided by human beings. Some could be human or animal-sized or extremely tiny, the size of an insect capable of moving exceedingly fast. The experts warn they could be as deadly as nuclear weapons and need to be regulated now before an arms race begins in Gordon, of course, to keep them out of the hands of terrorists.